A silence felt alive. A report reached the security forces about a vehicle parked on the desert road. The vehicle was completely charred, with no clear features left. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was what they discovered inside. Unrecognizable human remains. The second problem was the timing of the incident. Almost all the evidence suggested that the other party involved was someone very close, but the forensic laboratory and the medical examiner had a completely different opinion. Egypt, Ismailia Desert Road, Arab Crime Files, 2019, 8 a.m., specifically the first day of Eid al-Adha. Two drivers passing along the desert road noticed a microbus parked on the side. It was slightly deep into the desert, and a large amount of smoke was coming out of it. The two decided to pull over quickly, trying to help anyone who might be inside. They parked to assist, but they found the vehicle completely charred. No clear features remained. When they tried to open the door, the fire intensified due to the oxygen entering. The two drivers immediately contacted the security forces and reported the situation. Shortly after, security forces arrived at the scene in the middle of the Ismailia Desert Road, Egypt. They completely controlled the situation, but what they saw afterwards was shocking. Charred remains lay on the back seats. Security requested forensic experts to determine whether there was criminal suspicion. When the forensic experts arrived, they noticed something strange. The individual's hands and feet were restricted. The charring was so severe that they couldn't determine the identity. At that point, security became certain they were dealing with a criminal case. The place and the time made the investigation extremely difficult. First, because it was the Ismailia Desert Road in Egypt. No one knew the origin. Second, because the incident happened on the first day of Eid al-Adha. Who would commit such an act at this time and in this place? It appeared the incident had happened only a few hours earlier. Although the car's features were completely gone, forensic teams managed to find the chassis number and sent the data to the traffic department. Forensic experts confirmed the fire was intentional, using a flammable substance. During the search, security found a gasoline container thrown far from the car. This was a liquidation. The remains were burned along with the vehicle. The remains were transferred to forensics to determine the time and cause of passing. The first important piece of information was that the microbus was registered to a man named Mustafa. Mustafa owned several microbuses operating from the El-Salam station in Cairo, Egypt. Investigations showed that Mustafa was with his family celebrating Eid. Security knew then that the remains did not belong to Mustafa. The forensic report arrived with vital information. The cause of passing was multiple sharp strikes to the chest and sides. The incident happened elsewhere, and the remains were then moved to the desert. The remains belonged to a young man in his 30s. Passing occurred between 2 and 3 a.m., 5 hours before being found. His hands and feet were restricted with electrical wires. What kind of immense cruelty is this?
The light revealed the darkness. Mustafa was summoned. He appeared to know nothing. He explained that the management of the microbuses was handed to someone else in Cairo, Egypt. Security verified that every word Mustafa said was true. He only visited at the beginning of the month to collect the profits. But security was now certain of one thing. Mustafa owned the vehicle. This was the first thread of the mystery. The question remained, who did this?
and whose remains were inside. Security went to the El-Salam station in Egypt to investigate the drivers. At 8 p.m., a report arrived at the El-Salam police station from a woman. She stated that her husband, a driver, had been missing since the previous day. Security met her. She said her husband's name was Mohamed. He had not returned home and she couldn't find him at the station that morning. She last saw Mohamed at 11 p.m. at the station. His phone's battery was dead, so he gave it to her to take home and charge. She waited until 6 a.m., but he never returned. Security requested a photo of Mohamed. During examination, they noticed a very distinct facial mark still visible on the remains. After further investigation, security confirmed the remains were Mohamed's. Initially, suspicion fell on the wife, but it quickly became clear she had nothing to do with it. Security eventually informed her of the truth about the passing. They began gathering information about Mohamed and his conflicts. He was described as a hard-working, well-liked man with no known enemies. This looked like revenge. Nothing was stolen. Even the vehicle was burned. Security started tracing the events immediately before Mohamed's disappearance. One day earlier, at 3 p.m., Mohamed's wife and mother-in-law visited him in Egypt. A man named Amr was present. He was responsible for organizing drivers. Amr was known for his aggressive behavior. Amr harassed Mohamed's wife and mother-in-law. A serious fight broke out between Mohamed and Amr. Amr's brother Ali joined the struggle. Other drivers intervened and calmed the situation. Eventually, Amr and Ali apologized. Amr told Mohamed he didn't know the woman was his wife, and the matter appeared to end. It didn't seem like a reason to liquidate or burn someone.
The victim became the aggressor. The calculations changed when security gathered information about Amr and Ali in Egypt. Both were addicted to various illicit substances. They consumed them in large quantities every day at the station. A normal person might walk away from a minor fight. An addict might not. Both had criminal records. Friends confirmed they were not seen during the night of Eid in Egypt. Amr appeared at the station at 1 p.m. the next day. He even helped Mohamed's wife search for him, despite being the other party responsible. Security summoned Amr and Ali for investigation. They confessed to everything at the first question. The reason was simple. They felt insulted in front of the other drivers. They decided Mohamed had to pay the price for the dispute. Illicit substances completely take away the mind. Amr waited for Mohamed at the station in Egypt until he finished his shift. He acted as if they had reconciled, but the decision had already been made. Mohamed went with Amr and Ali to spend the night. They were prepared: a tool, a sack, gasoline. As soon as Mohamed sat down, Amr struck him with the tool. When Mohamed tried to resist, Amr delivered a strike to his heart. He passed away instantly. Did they stop? No. They continued using illicit substances. Afterward, they placed the remains in a sack, took the car, and drove to Ismailia Desert Road. In a quiet location, they doused the remains and the vehicle with gasoline and set them on fire. In their confessions, they felt they had done nothing wrong. They saw the insult as justification for the liquidation. They were sentenced to the death penalty. Justice has been served for Mohamed. This is the path of illicit substances. Peace.